Pakistan proposes no war with India for 100 years. Trade resumption ahead of Kashmir resolution. Pakistan brings out its first national security policy. Puts peace and economy at the heart of this policy. Is Pakistan laying another terror trap for India? Can India trust Pakistan? That's our top focus on India First. Pakistan's first ever national security policy is being unveiled by Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan. Now, this policy, according to Pakistan, took 7 years in the making and reportedly talks about 100 years of peace with India so that Pakistan can focus on reviving its economy in doldrums and be a geo-economic state instead of being attached either to the US or China's hip for survival. But is Pakistan, a country on the verge of virtual financial ruin, setting another trap for India? No hostility with India for 100 years, proposes Pakistan. Focus on peace with neighbors and economy. Trade resumption with India ahead of Kashmir resolution. Resumption of dialogue with India. Geo-economy, bigger focus than geostrategy. Bankrupt Pakistan seeks peace with India. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is set to announce Pakistan's first national security policy. Pakistani newspapers have quoted officials saying Pakistan proposes peace and no hostility with India for 100 years. Pakistan virtually on the verge of bankruptcy, seeing runaway inflation, has also proposed resumption of trade with India ahead of resolution of Kashmir issue.
इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी हमारा कोर होगा. इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी से जब आपकी माइशत मजबूत होगी तो आपके पास और इखराजात करने का मौका होगा आपकी मिलिट्री सिक्योरिटी पे भी और आपकी ह्यूमन सिक्योरिटी पे भी. एक्सटर्नल रिलेशंस के हवाले से अगर मैं एक लफ्ज में बयान करूं तो हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव, हमारा एजेंडा है पीस.
Let me just explain कि National Security Advisor.
Pakistan's National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf told journalists that the first ever 100-page comprehensive national security policy was in the pipeline since 2014. The 7-year process, he insists, puts economy at the center of Pakistan's security. He conceded Pakistan has lost its economic independence. Inflation has shot up to 12.3% from the 11.5%, the highest in close to 2 years in Pakistan. Prices of consumer goods, food and vegetables are at an all-time high. Prices of petrol, gas and utilities are also extremely high, and Pakistan is under pressure from the IMF to hike it further. China too is extremely miffed with Pakistan, unable to deliver the China-Pakistan economic corridor, resulting in a loss of close to $60 billion for China.
There is a big gap between what is said and what actually happens on the ground. So I think we will have to wait and see how serious they are about resumption of economic and commercial ties, even as what they call core issue of Kashmir, as they call it, remains unresolved.
Since the Pulwama terror strike adopted a hard stance against Pakistan, India not only sent Mirage 2000 fighter jets into Balakot to punish Pakistan's state-sponsored terror after Pulwama, but is also keeping the pressure up through the Financial Action Task Force to compel Pakistan to act against UN-designated global terrorists like Hafiz Mohammed Saeed and the Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar.
पाकिस्तान का जो ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है वो देखा जाए तो पाकिस्तान की जो पहचान है वो भारत विरोधी है. पाकिस्तान आतंक को इस्तेमाल करता है भारत के बरखिलाफ. पाकिस्तान चीन का एक तरीके से वैसल स्टेट बन चुका है. मुझे नहीं लगता है ये पाकिस्तान का ये जो नई सुरक्षा नीति की वो जो बात कर रहे हैं, भारत के साथ अच्छे संबंध रखना, भारत के साथ व्यापार रखना, ये एक दिखावा है।
Through the new policy, Pakistan appears to be seeking a lifeline from India to resume trade and ease international pressure. Bureau Report, India Today. So, resumption of trade before Kashmir resolution, 100 years of peace. Just how desperate is Imran Khan under pressure from the IMF and China? And will India now throw him a lifeline? Will India agree to resumption of dialogue? Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, former Kashmir co-commander. He's dealt with Pakistan's state-sponsored terror, as has Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, former ambassador. He's served in India's mission in Pakistan. And Arzu Kazmi is a commentator and journalist who joins us from Pakistan. Arzu Kazmi, the first national security policy of Pakistan. An official was quoted in Pakistani media saying Pakistan wants 100 years of peace with India. Explain this change of heart in Pakistan that once spoke of a 1,000-year war with India and has followed a policy of bleeding India through 1,000 cuts, ma'am.
No, I think Pakistan is facing economic crisis as well as FATF and other things. So now finally, even I'm very happy that they're giving this statement and security policy that we want peace with India and other neighbors. Anyhow, 100 years is too much, but if we maintain at least 10 to 15 years with peace with everybody, including India, that will be a big achievement for Pakistan, because now Pakistan is supposed to focus on their interior problems, which is education, economy and other things. So we cannot afford more, Kashmir ka Ghana. We cannot do it for a longer time. So okay. I think India must appreciate Pakistan's step and take it as a positively, or I think it will be better for both the countries.
Okay, General Hasnain, is that your appreciation? Pakistan appears to be under tremendous pressure from IMF and China. Is Imran Khan looking at a lifeline from India, or in your appreciation, is this a trap?
See, Gaurav, I don't agree with what Arzu has just said. There's no doubt they are trying to escape from the kind of situation that they are in at the moment. FATF pressure, a huge downturn in their economic situation. They're looking for a change in their image. Worldwide, the Pakistani image is an image of a rogue state. They have not been declared a rogue state for various geostrategic reasons, but primarily in the perception of the world, they remain a rogue state. They are attempting to try and get out of that, offering olive leaves of all kinds, issuing out things like 100 years peace, etc., but at the same time laying down preconditions. Now, what is this awkwardness about this precondition that they will not negotiate with the current government in India, and that Kashmir, they will not be resolved, but trade and economics with India, they can continue? You see, when you are in a state that you are at the moment, as Pakistan is, you can't start laying down preconditions of this kind.
Yes.
There is going to be no peace. 100 years of no war, no peace is what Pakistan is looking at. That is exactly the situation which is existing today. So
Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, is that also your appreciation when Pakistan says trade resumption ahead of Kashmir resolution through resumption of dialogue? I mean, though they do want resumption of dialogue, this prima facie would be a major climb down for Imran Khan, who said no talks with India till restoration of pre-August 2019 scenario. What do you make of Pakistan's new national security policy, Ambassador?
Gaurav, good evening. I think Mr. Imran Khan has decided to prove Abraham Lincoln wrong, who said that you cannot fool all the people all the time. Mr. Imran Khan believes that you can fool all the people all the time. I'm afraid it is nothing more than another theater from the studios of Mr. Imran Khan, nothing more, nothing less. He attempted to sell buffaloes. He attempted to hire out the Prime Minister's house. He tried to raise funds from the Pakistani non-resident community. How can peace, economic development, and peace with India and economic development, can it go hand in hand with nurturing terror groups in Pakistan, with having terror camps across the LOC and attempted infiltration, unleashing the Haqqani group, not allowing the 50 tons of wheat to transit through Pakistan. I'm afraid this is aimed at nothing more. It is aimed at IMF because they are wanting to get the bailout. How can they overnight change policy when you have the jihadi tanzeems in Pakistan?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I think it's too good to be true.
You think it's too good to be true? Arzu Kazmi, apart from those who may have been influenced by Pakistan's ISI spy Ghulam Nabi Fai and his, five-star business class foreign junkets, there is a lot of skepticism in India. Eyeball-grabbing headlines, 100 years peace. But Moeed Yusuf on Pakistani TV channel continues to spew venom against a democratically elected government and the Prime Minister of India. So is this only happening to fool the International Monetary Fund, madam?
No, I don't think so. I think that Pakistan and India must move forward, and we cannot live in our history all the time. And if Pakistan wanted, I agree with you that it's because of the pressure of IMF and FATF and other things. But if we want something good, whatever the reason is, I think India must appreciate it and at least give it a try. You can try this peace talk, and you can. Otherwise, if we do anything wrong, or if you say that Pakistan is not serious to make peace in this region, then you have all the rights to blame us. But at least for a few days or for a few months, give it a try and let people live peacefully. And I really appreciate my government and the establishment if they want this, no matter what is the reason behind it. I am also surprised for 100 years, but I am hopeful for few years we can make it.
Okay, General Hasnain, each sweet word that comes from Pakistan, whether from a civilian government or a military dictator, has been followed by bloodshed in India. When Arzu Kazmi says at least try it, ma'am, we've tried it many times in the past and we Indians have bled. From Kargil to Lahore and from Pathankot to Lahore. Pathankot after Lahore. Is Pakistan looking at resumption of dialogue just to get a breather and then plan another terror attack, sir?
See, Gaurav, I've had discussions with many leaders, many military leaders in Pakistan. Whenever India has made a gesture of peace, for example, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Lahore, the response from the military personalities in Pakistan is, this is not the way to peace. Then what is the way to peace? See the out-of-the-box kind of a thing which our Prime Minister attempted to do, 25th of December 2015. Yes. Outreach without any conditions. Here, you are offering you are taking out a national security policy with condition after condition after condition which you are laying down. Kashmir is not to be discussed. Kashmir is not on the agenda at the moment. Peace we will only have for trade. We will only look at economics and economic issues with India. Negotiations without bothering about other things. Now, these preconditions can't be laid down.
Yes.
Why can't you do something transformational, like the manner in which Mr. Modi tried it? If you can put all these things aside and just say, okay, enough is enough, let's forget Kashmir for the moment. Let's come on board together. I can assure you, India will meet you halfway. India will meet you more than halfway if you can give that commitment.
But my fear in meeting Pakistan more than halfway is that we'll be stabbed in the back again. Like when then Prime Minister, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, when then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee travelled to Lahore, the same time Pakistanis were infiltrating into Kargil. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi travelled to Lahore, Pakistanis were planning an attack on Pathankot. How can you trust Pakistan is my only point. When they've repeatedly stabbed India in the back, they continue to speak with a forked tongue. They'll plant these stories about wanting 100 years of peace, and then they will stab us in the back. Are they confused, or are they trying to get that same Pappi Jappi brigade that bats for resumption of dialogue without terror being addressed to prevail in India?
Let me for a moment accept what Arzu Kazmi is saying, that we know the past. Past should be a lesson, past should be a teacher, past should not be a burden. All right. For a moment, let us look at that. Then what I would like to say is that words don't matter. National security policy, etc., is good for countries where you have a presidential. So for example, the U.S. There is a presidential form of government. The president, who is elected by the people, brings out a national security policy, which is half implemented, half not. Here, Mr. Imran Khan's status at the moment is very well known. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that there is a change of heart. We cannot go by words. We have to go by action. We have to see how things are. Now, for me, the barometer will be, will the infiltrators or the terror camps along the LOC, will they be removed? Will the infiltration attempts stop? Will they allow wheat to go to Afghanistan? Will they start import of sugar, etc.? Will there be some envoy comes across to India? We have had enough talk. If Pakistan means it, and it's a very, very, very big if, they have to walk the talk. Words are not enough.
One, Pakistani words are not enough, and two, let's go by the very basic expectation that any civilized country would have of another civilized country. Action against a UN-designated global terrorist like Hafiz Saeed for 2611, based on evidence provided by India, Arzu Kazmi. Take action against Hafiz Saeed. Investigation was done by Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency. No convictions in Pakistan for 2611. India also seeks action against that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar. Imagine, he tried to kill your own military dictator and president, Pervez Musharraf. India gave intelligence and saved him. If Pakistan actually wants, if not 100 years of peace, even a decade of peace, why doesn't Pakistan begin with action against these two and dismantle the India-centric terror infrastructure?
Listen, Gaurav, Pakistan has more pressure on this statement. Because of this statement, Pakistan has to show more responsibility rather than India, because India cannot say anything, and India is not in a position to accept it or to reject it. But the Pakistan in a pressure, because everybody in the world just looking at us, and we have to prove it right that yes, we want peace with India, and we will work on it, and we will
if you want peace with India, take action against Hafiz Saeed,
which mentioned by the India.
If you want peace, take action against Hafiz Saeed.
We will. He is already arrested.
No, for 2611. You can't arrest him for some namby-pamby case. Arrest him for 2611 Mumbai terror attacks. 166 people died in it.
Of course, if Pakistan wants peace with India, they have to, suppose they have to do all these things. Hafiz Saeed, not only Hafiz Saeed, everybody. There are so many other terror groups also in Pakistan who are operating here. We know it. So Pakistan government must take strictly action on them. That's why I said that Pakistan more in a pressure than India about this statement.
Yes, but Pakistan is cornered. Pakistan, for the moment, is in a tactical bind. But General Hasnain, what India did under the Narendra Modi government, punished Pakistan's state terror through surgical strikes and an airstrike in Balakot. An operation all out to neutralize the radical Islamist terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir. Post 2019, is there a change in India's response to Pakistan terror? And is this the problem, that Pakistan army didn't anticipate this? They don't know how to come to terms with it. And that is why this googly bolt towards India.
See, Gaurav, it is very interesting to see 6 weeks ago, or perhaps 8 weeks ago, our National Security Advisor invited the National Security Advisors of the region for talks in Delhi and to look at the management of the situation in Afghanistan. Moeed Yusuf was also invited. I remember many years ago, I met Moeed Yusuf at the Shangri-La Dialogue here in Delhi. But when he was invited by a National Security Advisor to come and discuss things regarding Afghanistan here, all kinds of statements were made against India. He never came. If you're so serious about peace in the future, how come that your mind has changed? Your whole ideas have changed in the last 8 weeks. 8 weeks ago, you were not even willing to come to Delhi.
Yes.
You were not trusting at India at all. So, to my mind, this whole thing is a facade, nothing else. It's just a facade. And they are afraid, there's no doubt, they are afraid of the fact that if they cross the line once again, at some stage, crossing the Rubicon, there is going to be a response. This government will ensure that it carries out a response. That's not something that they can accept so easily, because the perception of their own people against the government is going to be something very different. So I think Pakistan is in a bind, attempting to put out an olive leaf and at the same time trying to create a perception for the world that it wants peace, but actually it wants nothing but just a stagnation of the situation as it is at the moment.
Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, so far, the Narendra Modi government has completely ignored this uninterrupted and uninterruptible dialogue peddling puppy jappi brigade in our country. And they have, there is no doubt in that, for the first time used air power to punish Pakistan's state terror. Is that policy working? Should that policy continue? In your appreciation, has Pakistan been put in its place?
Well, Pakistan is, let's face it, a very large country. Pakistan has to come to terms with itself, because this state of affairs cannot continue. It's not good for India, not good for Pakistan. Point really is that it is not an electric switch that you can just flick the switch and overnight there is a 180-degree turn or change in attitude. That does not happen. If Pakistan is serious, and I hope they are, they have to prepare the groundwork. They have to create public opinion. They have to explain the reasons. There has to be a public debate. A consensus has to emerge. You know, a lot of groundwork has to be done. Heavy lifting has to be done. I don't see that happening. Mr. Imran Khan's government is, in any case, on a weak footing. There is a divide within the different stakeholders. I'm afraid I don't buy this line. However, if they are even half serious, we will go out of the way or we'll meet them more than halfway. But so long as that does not happen, there is no question of trusting Pakistan. Trust has to be built, cannot be created by a flick of switch.
Okay, Arzu Kazmi, the Indian Prime Minister does not pick up Imran Khan's phone calls according to the Pakistani media. US President does not call back. Chinese want their money back. Given where Pakistan is today, why should India talk to Imran Khan when we don't even know whether he will survive? There's been some tension with Parvez Khattak. There is massive tension with the Pakistan army over the appointment of the DG of ISI. Is Imran Khan, in your appreciation, on a sticky wicket? And why should India not wait for Pakistan to take credible and irreversible action against India-centric terror first?
So I think don't talk to Imran Khan. You people have to directly talk to Bajwa Saab, because he's the one who's handling everything. So I don't want to hide anything that Imran Khan is very powerful Prime Minister. No, he's not. So you have to, this decision also come from the military basis. I'm sure that our army wants peace with India. So just give it a try, as I said before, and whatever you think that things will not go through directly or correctly, correctly. So you have to talk with Bajwa Sahab to make it clear what we want actually. And yes, we want peace, not for 100 years, but at least for a few years, just to work on our economy, our education and other fields.
And then you'll start terror again.
I'm sure that your people will also appreciate this step of Pakistan.
No, I would presume India would want to see action on ground. I have last 30 seconds on the broadcast, but quick reaction. General Hasnain and Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, should India be talking directly to Pakistan army?
Gaurav, just remember one thing. This national security policy has got an unclassified part and a classified part. What is in the classified part, I wonder? That India is a permanent enemy, that India will always be kept on a shelf as far as its status is concerned in terms of enmity. That's the kind of thing probably there, all parts of it there. This, as you call it, namby-pamby stuff is all there as a part of the unclassified thing, sending out messages of peace to India. It has to be proven. Okay. This has to be proven, even if Bajwa, even if we have to speak to Bajwa, let this message come from Bajwa. Let it come clearly. It can't be an overnight change. It has to be a change over a period of time, drawn out through a creation of a trust between both sides. What is there is a trust deficit, and with that trust deficit, I don't think we can take this process forward.
Fair enough, and we don't even know how long with General Bajwa. He's already on extension. How long will he stay? Or Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, should India be talking directly, or should General Bajwa be talking directly to India? I mean, if they want peace, let them take the first step, including credible, visible action.
Oh, absolutely. We have never been averse to talking to the army. Or for that matter, the intelligence agencies. We have, in fact, as far as I know, tried to have a line of communication with the army. If they are wanting change, and then why an initiative cannot be taken by them? That's what I said. And an envoy could come, and we could talk. But Absolutely. It will not be talk for the sake of talks. We will have to see credible action before we can have a meaningful dialogue.
I will let that be the last word on the show. Credible action against India-centric terror, that must be visible on ground. Arzu Kazmi, General Hasnain, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, as always, many thanks for joining me here on India Today. I want to leave you with images of Lohri celebrations across the country. Of course, rather muted because of this third wave. We leave you with these images. Lohri, of course, is the festival that marks the end of winter and the beginning of warmer weather and happier days ahead.